So when it's all said and done, what is the legacy that Leslie Zann will leave behind?
That the lessons I learned from the challenges I faced can support other people in dealing with their challenges, their obstacles, their setbacks in more positive, confident, courageous ways. And that their journey from being knocked down to getting back up will be a more enjoyable or empowering, let's say, journey for them.
Beautiful. What's up, my friends? Welcome to this episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. And this is a platform to connect with and share the stories of health professionals, personal development leaders, and entrepreneurs who are making an impact in the world. So who better to have with us here today than our guest, Leslie Zann? So Leslie is passionate about what it takes to live with courage and inspiring others to do the same. Having risen from the ashes of loss, abuse, betrayal, and illness, her mission is to reach as many people as possible with the message that everyone has the ability to tap into their limitless potential and create the life they've always wanted. With over 3 decades teaching, coaching, and presenting on leadership, business, and mindset, she helps people overcome their limiting beliefs and stop settling for less than the very best life has to offer. So as a successful entrepreneur, she knows what it takes to cast a vision and move in the direction of her dreams. We all have the potential for greatness. We must muster our courage to tap into that potential. So fear will always be lurking in the background, trying to tell you what you can and cannot do. It's up to you to face your fears and courageously tell yourself what you can do and then take action. So Leslie has a #1 international best-selling outrageous achievement, which I have on my Kindle right here. For those of you watching, for those of you listening, you'll have to take my word for it. It's a great cover. And so part of her mission is to inspire people on a global scale to find their courage and tap into their limitless potential to create the life they've always wanted. Leslie, welcome aboard.
Rob, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this.
I have as well. And I think the best place to start is to let people get to know you a little bit better. And obviously, from reading your book, anyone that's read your book knows a little bit about your story, but I'd love to have you share, where it all started and what got you to where you are today.
Well, I think there were 2 main times in my life where there were big shift moments. When I go back to my late 20s, in a period of about a year and a half, my then husband and I went through some big life-changing situations. We lost our business because of a water moratorium, a drought in California, so they didn't allow building to happen. He was a very successful builder, and I was a successful realtor. And so in one day, our business ended. We were building 1 to 2 $500,000 to $1 million spec homes a year. We had a crew of 11, and I had a successful real estate practice, and all of a sudden, no work. And that phone call began a series of situations, some in our control, some out of our control. 6 months later, our house burned down, which a faulty water heater. We lost everything. Thank goodness we were not in the home. We had already left for work, but we lost everything. Our neighbors saved our animals. Our 2 dogs and our cat survived, which was a good thing, but all our stuff was gone. Right around that time also, we found out after going to the doctor and doing a lot of tests that I wasn't able to have children. So I had some infertility issues. And a few months later, we were forced to declare bankruptcy because we had gone over a year with no money coming in and a lot of expenses going out. Through that whole year and a half, my life changed in so many ways. That saying of getting knocked down and then getting knocked down and then getting knocked down, the different ways that I got back up, the different ways I tapped into my strength and my courage and my reserves, my potential. It was life-changing. The marriage did not survive all these changes. And yet I left that experience fundamentally a different woman, and was very fortunate at that time that a mentor introduced me to personal development. Can you imagine? I was not introduced to personal development till I was 31. And I'll never forget the first book I read was Louise Hay, The Power is Within You. I can still see where I was. I can still see my sofa. I can still see my living room. When I can still feel how I felt when I first read that book. And so that opened up the potential. So that was the first part of my story. The second life-changing moment, as you know, was 10 years ago. I had remarried, and 10 years ago, that second marriage that was a 15-year marriage, and I thought was going along splendidly, actually. I came home from a speaking gig and discovered foot-long red hair all over the house. And as you could imagine, that was not mine. And that shook me. That situation, Rob, shook me every bit as the whole combination of events that happened in the 20s. And I was fortunate this time that even though I was fetal on the floor, I had developed tools and strategies and personal development concepts. So even though I was knocked down just as hard, if not harder, my ability to get back up this time was far different than the first time.
Amazing. And I think that one thing that has really stood out to me is just the fact that when people think of worst case scenarios, you've had a lot of worst case scenarios, and you are one of the most impressive people that I've really had the honor of speaking to. And so it's been just inspiring to me to see, who you are and what you do, and just see what's possible. Because I think it's so easy for people to come up against obstacles and say, well, that's it. That's the end. But people like you have really shown that that doesn't have to be the case. And so I'd love for just you to share, what type of person, what type of mindset do you have to overcome these obstacles? Because no matter what life we live, we think we live a perfect life. We're always going to have challenges. And I tell people, we don't want to live a life of no problems or challenges. We just want to improve the quality of our problems and our challenges. So what type of person do you need to be to overcome such big challenges?
Well, I think someone who is courageous enough to do the work. The things that I've been through, so many people have gone through many of the same things. I always say I never had a life and death moment, right? But I had a lot of B challenges. Didn't have the A challenge, but I had a lot of B challenges. And I really think what it takes to overcome this is the courage to do the work, to really figure yourself out. How do you tick? Like, what has to happen for you to get paralyzed? What has to happen for fear to overtake you? And then you learn to move through it. So everyone, I believe, has that potential in them to rise the way they choose to rise. But if you have not done the work, if you've just been reactive, if you've just been created a life of settling and you're not really happy, you're frustrated, you're disappointed, but you're willing to live with it. If you've not done the work, it's very difficult then to rise on your terms. There's a famous quote by Vince Lombardi. He was a NFL football coach from the 40s. And most people know the quote, whether they know Vince Lombardi or not, is it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. Well, I shift that a little and say it's not whether you get back down, because as you say, we are all going to get knocked down. It's whether we get back up transformed. And that is a choice, Rob. We can either get back up and move into victim. Woe is me. I'm going to quit. Why did I try this in the first place? No one's going to love me. I'm never going to be good at this. I'm always going to be broke. Or I'm going to get back up with a champion mindset of, hey, that hurt like hell. And that shook me to my core. And yet I'm going to get back up and I'm going to move in this direction and continue to have dreams, get out of my comfort zone, find the courage to design the life that I choose to live.
And one thing that really stands out to me about what you said there, and what, having had the opportunity working with Purium to hear your trainings once a week, is you talk about the importance of personal development.
Yeah.
And so, I think of personal development and professional development. So you could have been the best realtor ever when all that happened. And I bet you were pretty darn good at it. But all that professional development wouldn't mean anything if you didn't have any personal development in there. And I think that, to me, is such a telltale sign of someone who can overcome hardships, is when, yeah, they could be the best of their job, but are you really good at managing yourself, your mindset, your emotions, mental, physical, spiritual? So I'd just love to hear you dive into, maybe some of your favorite personal development tools that you work with on a regular basis. And just to give a little context, I always tell people there's no such thing as a good or bad tool. Meditation, sitting still meditation for me often is a good tool, but sometimes, if I have an exercise, it's not the best tool. I should probably go exercise. That'd be the better tool. So I like to give people as many tools into their toolbox as they can. So what are some of the tools that you like to use for your personal development?
Yep, that's a great question. I agree with you. You can be the most highly skilled person in the world, but if your head is full of fears and limiting beliefs, you're just a highly skilled person stuck or settling, right? So in the book, Outrageous Achievement, I feel so strongly about this. I wrote an entire chapter on personal development, and I gave some of my favorite tools, as you say, for personal development. So number one, of course, reading, right? Like my whole library in my bedroom, my whole library is 90% personal development books. But I also like adventure stories, real adventure stories, people who, the 80-year-old that climbed Mount Everest and the 2 women that walked across Antarctica, these high adventure stories of people really stretching themselves and doing things that it inspires me to continue to be my best. So that's really what and biographies of people I admire. That's really what my library is made up of. So certainly reading. Now, for people who don't dig reading, we have audiobooks so they can listen. My advice for the audiobooks, and I always take an audiobook out on my walk, but then I will earmark certain places or I'll say a note onto my phone. My one advice for audiobooks is, when possible, listen at your desk or listen at some place with a notepad, because you're going to hear great nuggets and they could just go right through you. But I want you to stop and go, oh my gosh, that was so good. Like I have a journal in my bathroom because there's a morning show I listen to on Clubhouse, Breakfast of Champions. And I realized I was frantically looking for stickies. So now I keep a journal in there. So in the morning when I'm putting on a face and I'm listening to these smart people saying bright things, like I can capture the notes. So audiobooks for sure. Journaling, so important. And again, many people hesitate, I find, to journal because they think, I don't know. I think we hesitate for a lot of reasons in all these tools because we think we have to do it right or we don't know how to do it. And you just open up your journal. It could be a few words. It could be a few sentences. It could be a total brain dump, whatever you're feeling that day. There's no right or wrong when it comes to personal development. But I have found for me magic in journaling and getting my thoughts out on paper. You can do it on your Mac, if you want, if you're a smoking fast typer. I don't know. They do say scientifically there is something different from the brain to the soul to the heart when you handwrite, but I don't care. Just get it out on paper. So journaling is important. Vision work. I do a vision board every year and I love my vision board. And so taking the time to actually create a vision board, which has visuals or words of what you aspire to be or things that inspire you or goals or action sets. So I love having a vision board. There's also meditation. You bring up meditation. How many people hesitate to meditate because they don't think they could do it right, or they try it once and they don't think they could do it because our mind's always going. For me, I'll get a cute story for you. So I was at a place I love, Rancho La Puerta. In fact, I'm going there in a few weeks. And it was the first place I was ever introduced to meditation, yoga, crystal bowls, all this stuff. I was just a doer before I went there. This was right after the divorce. And I had no being in my life. It was all doing. And so as I was walking to my first meditation class, literally, my inner dialogue was, is everybody going to be wearing tie-dye shirts and wearing Birkenstocks? And this is true. Like, can't make this up. Like, was there a protocol? Like, what if I sit down and I don't dig this? Am I allowed to get up and leave? Like, this is really going to be uncomfortable. I can't shut my mind for a second, but I still kept walking towards the room and I sat in their meditation and I loved it from the first second. And yet I wasn't able to comfortably sit which is the case for so many people. So I did guided meditation for a year. I put her in my head and started with 2 minutes, worked up to 5 minutes, worked up to 20 minutes to guided meditation for a year. And now I could sit unguided meditation for 20 minutes. And the benefits of learning to sit with yourself are so numerous, but I would say for me, I'm less judgmental. I'm more patient. I'm less reactive. I'm more tolerant. My heart opens faster and easier. I can slow down more. There's just so many glorious benefits to meditation. So I highly recommend, but they call it a practice for a reason. Yoga, 2-3 times a week, no matter what's going down. Like I may already put in an 8-hour day, but by 1 o'clock, Monday, Wednesdays, Renee and I come together and do my yoga, no matter what is going on. And she doesn't come here anymore. We do it virtually. And it's the same thing. I get on the mat for all the reasons. And so those are some of my favorite tools. And yet there's what I call you kindness too, Rob. There's spa day, getting your nails done, fresh flowers in the house, music playing. I mean, there's just so many ways to take good care of yourself and just learn what settles you into that triage of heart, mind, and soul.
I absolutely love it. And, I think that the important part there is, like you said, is we need to take care of ourselves with the little things. Playing music is a very little thing. It takes about, 30 seconds to find a playlist and put it on. That can completely change the whole atmosphere of the room. And there's times that if I find myself getting stressed, I'm like, getting all flustered, I put on the right song and all of a sudden it's like, wait, what was I stressed about? What am I worried about? And one thing that you said, I can't remember when, but I have had it written on my whiteboard for probably 6 months. You have 4 steps. Decide what you want. Don't overthink it. Take immediate action and tighten the gap.
Yep.
That has been on the top right corner of my whiteboard for probably 6 months. It is very faded, so I may need to redo it now. But anytime that I find myself, again, getting flustered, making a big deal out of nothing, as me and my friends say, making mountains out of anthills, I look at that and I say, just do something. Doesn't mean anything crazy. Just do something. Take one little step forward. Oh, I'm getting, procrastinating, reaching out to people. Reach out to one person. Getting procrastinating, posting on social media. Make a quick story. Just the little things. And I think that leads me into, my next question so I'm 27 years old right now. A lot of my audience, I'd say, is probably 25 to 35 is probably the average range. So what would you say for advice for people in that age range of 25 to 35? Because for me, I'm still very much in that do. My ego still likes to run the show. I still want to achieve things. I want to do things. But then talking to people that, I talk to someone who's 37, he's like, you got to be more, spend more time, laying in bed with your girlfriend, like stop getting out of bed to, not abandon her, but, go do things that do. So I'd love to hear your advice for that, 25 to 35, go typer.
It's a combination of the two. Okay. I'm 61. I could look back at me in my 20s and 30s. And if I could go back and tell her anything now, it would be start doing some personal development reading. Because I've always been a big reader, always a voracious reader. But what was I reading and who was I hanging around? Like I always had discipline. I was a good worker. I was successful in my career. I was a top agent and we did have a thriving building business. But boy, I never stopped to think about myself. I literally did not. I had zero doing I had zero being, 100% doing. And so my advice for those 20 and 30-year-olds is a couple of things. Number one, make that commitment to personal development. Jim Rohn always said, work harder on yourself than your business or your job. So make that 30-minute commitment for personal development. And when we talk about personal development, I'm not talking about leadership books, although I read those. I'm not talking about spiritual books, although I read those. I'm not talking about biographies of people who started down here and got to the top of their game, although I read those. I'm talking about the type of books that will get you to think about you and figure yourself out. Like I said, what has to happen to get you stuck? What inspires you? How can you tap into your courage? Having a higher level of awareness of your thoughts, understanding fundamentally the principle of the law of attraction, that your thoughts create your reality. So if you would invest just 30 minutes on personal development, it's going to positively impact all areas of your life. You're going to be better at work. You're going to be better with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You're going to make different decisions, which is going to create a different life. In fact, you're going to create a higher level of clarity of what you want and who you want to be. Because one day you're going to be me. And I'll tell you, at 61 now, Rob, I am so clear. Like, I got 25 years left. That's not a long time, right? So I got about 25 years left, if I'm lucky, with good quality of life. I am more clear than ever before, the woman I want to be, who I want to attract, what I want to be doing, the life I want to live, how I want to walk through the world. Now, if I was 25, 30, 35, oh my gosh, now you're looking ahead. You figure you got 50, 60 years. It goes by fast. Who do you want? Same questions though. Who do you want to be? How do you want to walk through the world? Who do you want to attract? What do you want to attract? What kind of life do you want to design for yourself? So you have two choices, summing this up. Two choices. You can just be reactive and let life take you where it's going to go, or you can be proactive, start doing personal development, and truly, purposefully design the life that you want.
Beautifully said. And, so I think that obviously that comes down to a lot of priorities. And I think a lot of people, a big challenge that I find myself and a lot of people I talk to is that young budding entrepreneurs, we tend to be very busy, but not always the most productive. And I like what you said in your book about taking right action. But on that note, what would you say are some of the biggest, learning curves? I don't want to call them mistakes, learning curves that young starting out entrepreneurs make on their journey as they're, getting their businesses going.
Okay. So I'm going to answer it differently. Instead of what are the mistakes they make, what are things that I would recommend they do? How about that? I would recommend, number one, surround yourself with smart people. Like, it's like the old joke about the husband that never stops to ask for directions, right? He's just going to keep driving around in circles and the wife is going, come on, dude, like, let's ask somebody. Okay, ask somebody. Find someone successful, not just someone you dig or someone who wants to be successful. Find someone who literally is successful in the area you want to go, in the direction you want to go, and ask for a call. Ask for a cup of coffee, ask for a lunch, like model success. Too often we listen to people and they haven't achieved success, or they haven't achieved a success in the area that we're looking to do. They may love us, they may mean well, but that's not the same thing. So I would find a terrific mentor so that you can learn from their experience. And that's one thing I was very fortunate. I had some great mentorship. As my life was shifting into my 30s, I had some terrific mentorship. So that would be the number one thing. Number two, I've already said personal development for sure. Number three, create a plan. Create a plan, create not just a business plan, create a plan for your life and think unlimited, right? Like, where do you really want to go? Who do you really want to be? What do you want to achieve? You can't execute without a plan. Right? So what is your plan? And you can't execute by accident either. So what is the game plan for your life right now? Maybe it is starting the marriage. Maybe it is starting the family. Maybe it is working your way up the ladder in a career. Maybe it is being an entrepreneur and starting a business. Wherever you are is where you are, right? So creating the plan so that you can execute it well, and surrounding yourself by people who not only support your dream, Rob, but are go-getters and doers. Like, if you're hanging around the reality TV watching, I don't want to say anything I'm going to regret, but we know what it is. Like, if you're hanging around people who at the end of the day just want to get a buzz, turn on the TV, don't do anything, get up and do it again tomorrow. I think that's a big error a lot of us make. There's going to be a point in your life where you must step back and say, if I'm a reflection of the people I hang around with, because that is true, whether we dig it or not, if I indeed a reflection of the people I hang around with, who am I hanging around with? And for most of us, I know it was the case for me. Once I understood that, I had to let a lot of friendships authentically go because they were not holding me up for my greater good. So
I love it. Yeah. And I think that I've had the experience probably about a year and a half ago where I had to let some of my old high school friends go. And that was really tough because, you grow up with these people. And I mean, I moved to the town that I grew up in when I was 9 years old. So basically from 9 until like 25 or so, I was friends with these like 16 years. Those are my friends. But then, like you said, sometimes when I really stepped back, I was like, hold on, these people are working jobs that they don't like. They're smoking weed, drinking, playing video games, eating crappy food all the time. They're arguing, they're complaining. It was just like, and I remember I just would walk away from hanging out with them and just feeling drained. And I was like, this is this, if there's a clear sign, there's nothing more clear than walking around feeling drained after hanging out with people that you're supposed to feel enlivened when you're around other people. And that was a really difficult choice and a really difficult decision. And, I think to some degree, some of them still don't understand. Some of them, we have now re-engaged and talk and all that, but it's not easy. But life is full of difficult questions. And I think that as we get more clear, and I can't remember if it was in Outrageous Achievement or Grow Rich Thinking, they both have very good questions that are asked in there. And that really helped me become clear on some things and things that I'd, maybe turned a blind eye to. It's like, I'll push that away, worry about that later. And then I was like, Leslie, you're really pushing my buttons here, really making me think. So I definitely say, for people that are looking for clarity, there's so many ways to do it. Like you said earlier, a vision board, taking time to step back, meditation, reading books like your two books, and having people give you guidance and weave in questions which I think you did so masterfully, is just that blend of questions and some information. So with that being said, on the mentor side, I think that was something to me that a lot of people say, where do I find a mentor? I don't have thousands of dollars to pay a coach for all these type of things. And that's where I found that the vehicle of network marketing has just been such a just mind-blowing experience that before I started it about 2 years ago, I didn't really know what it was. I thought, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. I thought it's this, and then the other thing, all these things that, people throw their limiting beliefs, their cousins, friends, second removed wife, whatever, had a bad experience in network marketing. So now network marketing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then I joined it. And then I had people that were, like you said, they were very successful. Wait a second, they're also very happy. Wait a second, they're also very healthy. They want to focus on their personal development and their professional development. They want to help other people and help themselves. And part of me is like, this seems too good to be true. And sometimes when I'm explaining it to people, it almost sounds like a snake oil. Like it's too good to be true. Like, how can all these things be in one vehicle? So I'd love to just have you share your experience with network marketing and just, just anything on that front.
I've been around the profession for over 30 years. I've built my own business in the field. I've been national director of field development for 4 different companies. And in 2012, I launched Leslie Zann Consulting. And many of my clients are either network marketing corporate clients and or top leaders with huge organizations. And I tell you, my personal belief is this profession has never had more cachet than it has right now. And it all started when Warren Buffett decided to buy 3 network marketing companies. Why? Because he can and because he's smart, right? It's the only profession on the planet where people can be as great as they choose to be. It is the only profession that I'm aware of where an entrepreneur, someone who's never had their own business, someone working from home, man or woman, regardless of age, regardless of experience, regardless of anything, education, right? You can choose to be as great as you choose to be. And it's all core value driven. That's one of the things I love about it as well. Core values for financial security, core values for service to other people, core values for health, core values for community. It's all core value driven, which is why it is such a popular profession. And so when I meet people who, as you say, either didn't succeed in another company, or heard stories of someone who didn't succeed in network marketing, none of that is a reflection on the profession or any particular company. That is simply a reflection of their experience. We've all had experiences with doctors we don't like, or teachers we don't like, or coaches we don't like, or sports we don't like, or hobbies we don't like, or spouses that go away. Like we've all had these experiences, right? But that's not a reflection. My husband leaving is not a reflection of love, my lovability, marriage, right? That's just a reflection of that situation. So I love the profession of direct selling network marketing and truly am inspired every day. I tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you go find a product, a service that you're excited about, that calls to you, find a company that's solid and will offer the support, and just go be as wildly successful as you choose to be.
Yeah. And I feel, just about the same way with all that you said there. And I think that for me, when I started my business, Whole Health Connections, about 2.5 years ago, I started off referring people to different practitioners I'd work with, holistic nutritionists, acupuncturists, massage therapists, all these people I trained under for the past 10 years or so. And then different products, but it was kind of like I was making my own little affiliate marketing system that wasn't very sustainable. And then all of a sudden I find out that there's a vehicle already made for me that I can basically do what I was doing in a much more efficient way. I don't have to now buy inventory, depending on what network marketing company you're with, in mine, I don't have to buy inventory, which is phenomenal. I don't have to ship these things out. I simply give out a code by products that I love and would be sharing anyway. I get to mentor people to get to where I've gotten to in the business. I get to be mentored by people to where they've gotten in the business. Yeah. And I'm a holistic lifestyle coach, for the Check Institute, Paul Check. So it's like, for me, I like coaching. I like working with other coaches. I like working with other health practitioners. I like organic, non-GMO, superfoods. I like companies that are going plastic free. Like you said, it aligns with my mission, my vision, and my core values. And that's why this company is a good fit for me. Someone has other core values, maybe a different company is a better fit for them. Right. That's why I tell people, if you are looking to get into the entrepreneurial space, whether that's part-time or full-time or whatever variation in there, this is a great option to start with. And one of the books I like a lot is A 4-Year Career. And I think that that's a really good reminder in this social media instant gratification age of, become an entrepreneur in 90 days, make your first 6 figures in 90 days, which is like, yeah, of course that happens every once in a while, but the vast majority of people doesn't. And I think that the idea of the 4-year career just tells me, yeah, things take a little bit of time. Yeah, it's going to take a little, in the grand scheme of things, 4 years is nothing. But, if we can be patient, persistent, consistent for 4 years and have a viable business with something that we love and we'd be doing anyway, to me, it's like, what's better than that?
Yeah. I'm glad you found such a good home. And again, for those of us that have a vision to be an entrepreneur, that have those core values of service and health and community and financial security, I don't think you can find a better fit.
I agree. And a lot of what I like about it as well is the personal development aspect of it. And, one of my mentors in the company always tells me is, this is a personal development program with a compensation plan attached to it. And the more that I improve myself, the more that I'm able to help serve others, the more I'm going to get paid. And so I'm incentivized to become a better version of myself, which to me is the best job in the world, improving myself and making money doing that. So, a lot of that comes up with, things that we had mentioned earlier about fears, limiting beliefs. And in your book, I love that you talked about you were afraid of skydiving. So what'd you do? You went skydiving. You're afraid of it was like the trapeze stuff you're doing. So you signed up for like a circus school for however many sessions you did. And so on that note, I'd like to hear, as of right now, what is your biggest fear?
right now, my biggest, well, first, let me, for your listeners, catch up how that happened. Because I was not always that courageous woman, right? It was after the divorce 10 years ago, walking along the bay, when I realized I was 50 years old. And I started the year celebrating my 50th birthday in February, had a great job, thought the marriage was cool, money in the bank. Like I thought, going into my 50s, this is so good. And by the end of the year, John and I had split up. And that was in October. And in November, I was walking along the bay and I was trying to come to grips with how had my life just now fundamentally turned upside down. And I had this epiphany of how I had lost my courage. Like I couldn't think of one thing I had done in 20 years that really got me out of my comfort zone. Now, that wasn't me younger. Like I was a gymnast as a little girl. Like I was fearless. I was fearless into my teens. I was fearless into my 20s. Like, when did I become this risk averse woman? And I sort of stamped my foot there on the bay and kind of like threw myself a little tantrum. And that's when I went back home. And I thought, what's the scariest thing I can think of? Because I'm going to do something daring. And the scariest thing I could think of was jumping out of a plane. And first I had this inner dialogue. I'm like, well, I could jump out of a plane. Well, shit, I'm not going to do that. I mean, that's too scary. Well, maybe I could bungee jump. Well, why do I want to do that? I'm going to hurt my back. Well, I could go hang gliding. It's like, why would I want to jump off a cliff on a kite? I mean, I realized that I was so masterful at, I could do this, but if it in any way was risky, bam, I was immediate no. Like I was masterful at that. That realization inspired me to call up Skydive San Diego. 3 days later, I jumped out of the plane and it was a life changer. I realized the perception of what's possible is on the other side of fear. I only get to feel that empowerment and that zest for life and that courage if I'm willing to move through my fears. And so I jumped out of the plane. It was 6 months later when I was on an airplane and I read the article about circus school. So then I went to circus school, did the flying trapeze. Crazy. People ask me all the time, would you skydive again? Yes, for different reasons. Would you trapeze again? No way. Because in the book, I talk about how I had this midair collision, fractured my ribs. Holy shit, it was just a mess. But I'm glad I did it. And what a lesson of mindset. Like my last swing when I did complete the trip on the trapeze was total mental, total mindset. So there was a good lesson that came out of that day. So I learned to move through my fears. So to answer your question today, what am I most afraid of today now at 61? And I am very clear on the answer to this. Regret. I do not want to have any regrets. Taryn Rose, who's a shoe designer, she said, fear regret more than failure. I don't want to have any regrets. I have a big vision for the next phase of my career. I have a vision for my personal life. I have a vision for my health. I have a vision for travel. I have a vision. I got so many things I still want to do. And I don't want to regret. I don't want to wake up one day in the future and go, I've always wanted to live in the mountains and I'm not living in the mountains. I always wanted to take that trip transatlantic, and then haven't taken the trip transatlantic. I wanted to create this personal life and I don't have the personal life. I don't want to regret. Like I want to tap into my courage, Rob, and I do not want to let fears or limiting beliefs keep me from pursuing anything that's on my heart to pursue.
Wow. Beautiful. And that got me curious. What are these top three, if you had to choose top three things that you want to do? You know, you said live in the mountains, you said transatlantic. I want to hear some of the top things on your list that you want to do.
Well, from a personal standpoint, I love being in the mountains. I live in San Diego. I love living in San Diego. It is a glorious city, and I'd like to keep my home here. I'd like to buy a second home somewhere in the mountains. I'm really an outdoors kind of gal. I love to fish. I love to shoot, not real animals or birds. Nobody write me a note. I'm a skeet shooter. Claybirds. So I love to shoot, not a lot of gun clubs here in San Diego. So it was a favorite hobby of mine for many years. So I love to shoot. I love to fish. I love to hike. I want to have a home in the mountains where I step outside and all I hear is the breeze blowing through the trees. I'm very clear. I want to be on a river, not a lake, not the, I want to be on a river because I like the sound and I like the energy of a river. Like I see it clearly. So I'd like to have a second home in the mountains. From a trip standpoint, I've always wanted to do the transatlantic canard, you know, the Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, the canard ship, and do a transatlantic. So I'd like to fly to London and I'd like to spend a week or 10 days in London and then take the cruise back to New York. So it's a week and a half at sea. And I'm, you know, if we're gonna dream, I would dream like I got the really cool suite with the butler, like first class all the way. Just imagine all the interesting people and conversations and meals. And so I want to do the transatlantic to New York and then spend a week or 10 days in New York, seeing theater every single night, maybe twice a day, and do theater and dinners in New York, and then fly back to San Diego. So that would be a marvelous trip for me. And so that's a big dream trip. And, you know, from a professional standpoint, as the world shifts from the pandemic, I'm excited to get back out speaking live. You know, as you may know, like I used to go out at least 3 times a month. I was out speaking live, either for corporations or for top leaders or for companies. So to get back out speaking, I have another book inside of me. I've got some huge goals for my business. You know, there's so many people that do what I do, and a lot of the higher echelon, it's still a very male dominated profession. And I just feel that there is room and a need now more than ever for that strong female voice talking about courage and potential and possibilities and intention. And I'm called to do that. So I have some big visions for my professional life as well. And of course, there's going to be a love, and I really envision that Mr. Next has kids and perhaps grandkids. I think I'd be a marvelous grandma. So however that all shakes out, I know that's going to happen one day too.
I love it. Well, on a professional standpoint, I think a lot of people could look at you and say, hey, you're 61 years old. Why don't you think about retiring? So what drives you to keep going? Because, you know, to me, the idea of retirement is like, why would I do that? Why would I want to sit around and do nothing? So I just want to hear, you know, what motivates you to keep going? And you kind of partially answer that, but I'd love to just hear.
Yeah. I never really think about retirement. When do people really retire? I thought it was in their 70s, and I can't imagine retiring. I love what I do. I believe I'm just, you know, we all peak at different times. If you're, I'm an athlete, I'm an athlete and I'm a sports fan. And if you've ever watched the Olympics and heard the people talk about peaking at just the right time, right? They practice for 4 years, and they want to be at their physical prowess, right? In times of like, I feel I haven't even peaked yet. That's how I feel. I haven't even peaked yet. I'm working in that direction. So I don't even think about retirement. I love what I do. I'm coming from such a place of service and passion. Something else I put on that I've neglected that's important to me is philanthropy. Like I have big visions for giving back for philanthropy as well, and causes that really matter to me. And so I don't even think about retirement. I get up every day. It's a gift. I'm excited. I love my life. And I'm just thrilled on the journey. But again, I don't want to presume that there aren't mornings I don't get up and I'm tired, or, you know, disappointed something didn't work out, or don't have an obstacle, or just don't feel good. You know, we make our attitude and we make our life, and it's through my passion and through my clear vision and through willingness and commitment and discipline to do the work with myself, that I can face each day with the attitude and the courage and the joy, because that's a choice.
Beautifully said. And I think that's really, it's what I sense there is the gratitude. It's the gratitude for the life that you've, not only created, but also, the universe has conspired to allow this to happen. So it's a combination of your efforts, your energy, and also just the whole freaking universe coming together to make this all possible. And so I hear that gratitude, and without even saying the word, I can feel that gratitude. And I think that's something that's, amazing to me to see of people, who are very successful like yourself. Is there's a lot of gratitude. And to people that don't want to retire, it's like, why would you? If you love what you do, like, if 60 or 65 or 70, whatever the number is, it's this arbitrary number that we throw out there for retirement. It's like, why would you? Why not keep going? If you love what you do every single day, I don't see a point to it. And you just kind of summed up my views pretty perfectly as well. If you wake up every day, and not every day, I think, I say that there's days that, I wake up and I question my entire life. Like, am I in the right position? Am I doing the right thing? Am I worthy of this? Like all these questions. And then, sometimes that happens, and that's part of the personal work. And it's how fast we can kind of flip that script. And, there was time many months ago where I had some food poisoning, and I had a live event with two of my buddies. And I told them, I was like, look, I don't know if I'm going to make it. One of my friends says, why don't you just show up and just see what happens? So I showed up. Sure enough, just the energy of being around these like-minded people, the energy of people doing what they love, doing what I love. By the end of the event, he was like, hey, remember when you had food poisoning earlier? And I was like, I kind of forgot, because just that level of, energy in the room, the gratitude for what I was doing, the love for what I was doing transcended the pain.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is a really big piece, that when people find what they love to do and they're living what they love to do, there's always going to be pain. There's always going to be challenges, but we can learn to transcend them much easier when we're doing what we love.
And gratitude plays a huge role in that. Like when we're focused on all the things that are working in our life rather than all the things that aren't working. So you're focused on the people and your mission and the passion rather than focusing on the food poisoning. I mean, I sit before you a huge bundle of gratitude. I live in gratitude every second of every day. In fact, first thing I do in the morning when I wake up, I'm still in bed, I get it comfortable on my back, and I just quickly run through a gratitude list. Like whatever comes to my mind, quick gratitude list. When my feet hit the ground, I say a little prayer. I'm grounded. I am grounded. Like I feel my feet hit the ground right to the center of the earth. I am grounded. When I come out to my living room, before I even come into my office, I stand, I throw my hands out, and I say, something magical is going to happen today. Right? I mean, it sounds funny, but it's better than saying, oh, another for shit day. Right? Like how's that going to do anything for me? Right? So like something magical is going to happen today. And it invariably does, So it all boils down to focusing on what is working in your life, understanding that gratitude is, we breathe it. It's a breath, right? It's not just a word. Like it's how we live our life. And I do my best to live in a state of gratitude and focusing on what is working, and I've learned to silo the things that are not working so that does not become pervasive in all areas of my life. And gratitude is one of those magical tools that we should all carry all day long.
I love it. And, that reminds me, you said about I think of the weeds in the mind, and you had a James Allen quote in your book there, Outrageous Achievement. And so I scoped that out because As a Man Thinketh is one of my favorite books of all time. I'll never forget the first time I listened to that. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was laying on my hammock, and just my mind was just like, where has this been for all? And I probably listened to it 10 times now in the past 5 or 6 years that I first listened to it. And so I think that I know your book is going to be one of those books that I reread probably as soon as we get off this. So where can people get your book, learn more about you, and just tag along to all the cool stuff that you're doing?
That'll be wonderful. Well, I'll share, we just launched a few weeks ago. And so for it to be a #1 international bestseller, it happened in 20 hours. It's pretty exciting. And so just a few days ago, I got my print copy because we launched the ebook to begin. So it's called Outrageous Achievement. Just go to Amazon. The ebook and the print copy are there now. We've submitted the Audible. I went into the studio and did the audio for the book. We don't, they're a little backlog, so I don't know how long that's going to take to come live, but we have submitted the Audible, but they can just go to Amazon. And I'd also recommend following me on Instagram. I have a lot of cool things. We're starting a community here coming up in the future. A lot of the outrageous achievement concepts. I want to bring them to life, interview some people, like really, really take it from the book to real life for people. Because I continue to receive the most amazing feedback. And that's, I tell you, Rob, it's just always so rewarding that people that I don't even know would take the time to write me and say, I read this and I did this and I read here and this and this way. Like I had a gal write me, I don't know this woman. And she said she was halfway through the book and she went in and asked her boss for a raise. And she'd wanted to do that for 3 years.
Wow.
And the book gave her the courage. I know, I wrote her back. I'm like, ask for a big raise. Yeah, I was like, and she felt so empowered to quit settling for not being paid what she was worth and went in and asked for a raise. I mean, it's just things like that. So Amazon, Instagram, of course, my website, lesliezann.com. And I would love to just be another voice in support of your journey.
I love it. So much great stuff here. And just a final thought on that person asking for the raise there. I think that oftentimes we want permission to say from someone, some authority figure, some other figure to tell us it's okay to go and ask for that raise. And so if nothing else, if you feel like you need permission, go get Leslie's book. And even if you don't feel like you need permission, if you want to learn something about yourself, you want to learn something about the world, about business, about life, about just about anything, I highly recommend getting this book. So Leslie, thank you for all that you do, all that you are. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. And to anyone listening, if you didn't get a chance to hear her Instagram or the Amazon stuff, I'm going to put those links in the description box here. So Leslie, thank you for being here. Everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Rob, it was a pleasure, truly. Thank you. Wishing you great success, my friend.
Thank you very much. Everybody listen and have the best day ever. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Whole Health of Rob Carney podcast with our guest, Leslie Zann. So to get Leslie's book, you can go to Amazon.com and type in Outrageous Achievement. I got mine on Kindle, but that was simply because I got it the day after it was released, so I didn't want to wait for the hard copy to come out. But now the hard copy is out, so you can get either your digital or physical copy on Amazon. And a lot of the topics we touched on here were the topic of network marketing. As you could hear, the passion that Leslie has and the passion that I have for the industry network marketing, but I really truly believe that this is where the future is going. This is the collaboration, the community of people. And as you know, if you follow me or any of my work, I'm a big proponent of community. I think community is absolutely essential, and especially in this past year, we've been forced into isolation. Community is more important than ever. So if you're looking to grow yourself, to grow a business that's online, that allows you to work from home, if you're a mom, you want to be with the kids, or if you're a dad and you want to be with your kids, you want to spend more time with your family, have more freedom, travel, whatever you want to do, I truly believe that network marketing is the best mission, the best vehicle for that. And especially when you're aligned with a company like Purium, who's focused on organic, non-GMO superfoods, and a company that's going plastic free this year. To me, that aligns perfectly with my mission, vision, and values. I want to have freedom. I want to support the people. I want to support the planet. I want to coach. I want to be coached. And I want to get better every day. And I want to be around people that are on the similar mission. So if you're interested in joining our network marketing company, you can get trained by Leslie Zann twice or once a week. Every Tuesday, she does a live training, which is pretty darn cool. Most people, if you're going to have that type of mentorship, it's going to cost you a good chunk of change. But you can get into the business for, just a couple $100 here, which is pretty crazy to think about. You can start your own business for just a couple $100. have the ability to be mentored by great people like Zann, get to work with people like myself, a lot of the other people on our team. So if this is at all interesting to you, shoot me a message. The best way to do that is on Instagram at Whole Health Connections, or my email, which is wholehealthconnections@gmail.com. More than happy to share some more info on what the Purium network marketing opportunity looks like, and would love to chat with you. If you're an entrepreneur or a wantrepreneur, as many of us are, transitioning into this entrepreneurial lifestyle, if you want to improve yourself, if you want to learn, if you're hungry, if you're coachable and you're willing to grow, shoot me a message. Have the best day ever, and looking forward to growing together.